Today I will be installing a cheap Amazon backup camera on my wife's 2013 Ford Escape. Backup camera apparently wasn't available for that year, so I just figured I'd give this one a try for, I think it was like 20 or 30 bucks off Amazon, so figured it was worth a try. It's made by this brand, no clue how to say it. And it comes with a little monitor, the camera itself that's made to mount on a on the bolts for your license plate. It comes with a video cable and then two power cables, one for the monitor and the other one for the camera. So I'll show you my steps and I'll show you how I did it myself. So for my first step, I'm going to figure out how to get the wires into the interior of the car. First look, I think I want to remove this piece of plastic chrome trim and cut a little notch right at the base, so that way I can feed the wires through. Let's see back here. So I did take that back panel off. There are a handful of clips that you can just pop out all along the perimeter of the panel. However, you will have to, let's see here. You will have to pop the top of the handle off, right, and it will expose this, and there will be two screws you're gonna have to remove, so that way you can get the whole back panel off. And once you do that, you'll be able to see, I'm sure the lighting's probably bad for you guys, but there are several bolts holding on plastic studs for that trim piece that I'll remove, and it'll give me access to that piece. Alright, so once you get those 4 10mm nuts removed, there's going to be one clip in the center, and you just pop that out. So we got this notch cut out. All I basically did was use the corner of a file. It was super easy, took a minute or two to do. So my next step is to drill a hole for these cables to pass through, and I'm going to do that towards the left side here, because I'm going to end up running the wires all the way on the left towards the dash. So the goal is to get the wires to come through here as well. So I just put the hole through the sheet metal. As you can see, it's about an 1.5 inches down and left of this, Ford Motor Company stamp. I used a 1/2 inch bit to do the main hole, and then I used a file to clean up the edges, and to also put a little, little extra cutout on the side, so that way when you're feeding your wire through, the cable can actually fit right in that little gap as you push it through, and everything can fit in nicely. The next step is to use a little touch-up paint, go all around the edges just to make sure it doesn't rust. In case I forget to mention, I did Plasti Dip the camera itself. It was on all the recommendations from Amazon's customer reviews. So basically, it's a little messy here, but I kept the lens covered with a little clear plastic protector that comes on it, and then I Plasti Dipped the whole thing, and then I cut out where these LEDs are, just so the lights could go through. And it should keep it pretty waterproof. That's the main goal, is to keep the water out of it. Alright, so I'm under the lift gate now. As you can see, the wires are fed through, so I'm just going to tighten up those bolts that keep the piece of trim on, and then I'll start feeding the wire. So now I hooked up the power wire to the camera, and now I'm going to connect that wire and basically steal power from the reverse light, so that way the camera obviously has power when the car is in reverse. I'm going to do that using a quick splice. So here's the final setup for the rear of the vehicle. Ended up stealing power from the it's either going to be the blue wire after the connector. Going to the reverse side, there's either a blue or black wire on the left hand side, or if you go before the connector, it's going to be a green wire with a brown stripe, and that's when you have power. So power is green with brown stripe, or this kind of light powder blue. So then I just clean up the wires, and I'm gonna get the back all put back together. So I'm starting to run the video cable. The directions do say to disregard this red wire coming off of the video cable if you're hooking up to their LCD screen. So I just tape those off on both sides, and I basically kind of wrapped the video cable around this existing harness, fed it down through this piece of trim. I'm going to feed it down into this grommet and down into the cabin of the vehicle. Alright, so I got the video cable into the cabin now. So my next step is going to be start feeding it up towards the driver's seat. I think I'm going to get down. Through this white panel here that just pops off. You just grab the top and it'll pop. And I'm going to feed it through this ledge up here. And I think I'm going to go down towards the floor, all the way down through here, and then up to the steering wheel. Alright, so I'm still feeding this in here. Slip it in pretty easily, and these pieces of trim move, just pop out once you just grab them. I think I'm actually gonna try to push it in behind the weather stripping down towards the floor. I think that'll just be the easiest and the quickest, without having to take apart the whole interior. So to get, obviously the weather stripping goes up here, so I don't want to route that all the way up. So I'm gonna get under the trim by removing this, I guess this floor piece, the sill. So really you just pry that up and it'll pop out. And then I'm going to continue the wires running along the floor all the way to get to the dash. Alright, so I'm making some good progress. The wires, the video cable is under this floor sill here, going up next to the parking brake release behind that panel. Behind this, I guess the start of the upper dash, or the side, I guess it's a side panel here. It's along the carpet there, and then you can see here I'm following this crease between the side panel and like the frontish. So I'm gonna just follow that all the way up, and my goal is to get it to come out up here. So currently the wire is ran all the way up past the parking brake release, behind that trim and against the carpet. But now, as you can see, I have these connectors here that I'm going to have to deal with. So I'm not putting the camera, I'm putting the monitor approximately where I want it. I'm shoving those wires back behind the trim, and I'm going to run those down, and I'm going to try to hide them up behind the dash. So I ended up working this piece of trim out from behind the weather stripping, and throwing the cables behind that. It's kind of a pain, but it's definitely doable, and the wire is hid quite nicely. So I'm going to connect up those wires behind this panel, bundle them up, and stow them away in that gap. I have all the wires ran down this pillar here. My next step is to ground the power wire and also to get ignition power hooked up. And I'll let you know which wires I hook up to. Alright, so I finally got the system wired up in a way that it'll function. I ended up using a mini ATA circuit, and I used that in slot 86. It offers power when the vehicle is on and no other time. The only issue now is that the passenger fuse box is on the passenger side of the vehicle, and now I have to run this wire all the way across the driver's side in a somewhat orderly fashion. So I'll show you how I end up doing that. Okay, so I think the easiest way to do this is actually I'm going to start tucking it under the center console here. I'm going to follow that all the way around. Oh, that's my dog Cooper. I'm going to follow it all the way around, you know, behind this the center console in the rear, and then I'm going to go all the way up to the driver's seat and back to the left side where the driver, you know, his knee is about. So it'll end up being like a big T, but I think it's just gonna be the easiest way. It's gonna use a little bit more wire, but it'll just be really quick. So alright, so I got all the final wiring completed. I have the cable, the video cable connected. The directions do specify to connect the yellow cable that runs the length of the vehicle to the white cable of the monitor. Alright, and I have the power cable here, and all that just tucks nicely out of the way. Alright, so I have my ground. There's a nice bolt here that actually got a really good ground off of, so I just stripped some wire, tucked it behind there, and tightened it down. It's pretty secure. Then I just have the red lead connected to the wire that I have running all the way to the fuse box with the ATA fuse. Next thing I'll do, I'll start it up and show you guys how it works. Alright, so now I'll do a little demonstration showing you guys how this works. So turn it on. Okay, power's on the vehicle. I'm going to put it in reverse. And there's our image. I'll do a quick backup for you guys. The coloring's not great, but I think it does what it needs to and shows you where everything is. As you can see, when I went forward again, it turned off. A little bit more zoomy, I'd say, than a normal backup camera. Definitely less field of view. I think it's only set 120 degrees. So I guess just some recommendations. I had trouble finding out when the system had power. You can tell that the LCD monitor has power because the shade of black will change slightly, and so that'll kind of help you troubleshoot if you need to troubleshoot. Another recommendation, when you're making connections using like standard electrical connectors, I would try to use a thicker gauge of wire. So I ended up just going from the pretty thin shitty wire to a thick wire that I got from an automotive store. So that helped me ensure that we had good connections. And overall, I think if you have a plan and you don't run into major issues, it should take you about a day. let me know if you have any questions.